Action.
Hi, welcome to Founder Diaries. It's a little bit surreal to be sitting here and saying that because I've been saying I'm going to start a podcast for maybe 5 years now. But anyway, the moment is here. And in today's episode, what I'm actually introducing are going to be called minisodes. So when I wake up first thing in the morning, I like to listen to something to help me set my mind straight, get me into a certain mood, and have me thinking like in the right path. And I like to listen to quick bits and bobs on the internet. And I thought I would love this podcast to have those minisodes that you could listen to first thing in the morning, or when you have a few minutes before your next meeting, or when you just want to set your mind straight. So that was the idea behind the minisodes. So on the minisodes, I'm going to be sharing just my hot takes and tips and tricks, but also just sharing my experiences on what I'm going through on the entrepreneurship journey, and welcome to come along with me. So on today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that someone actually asked me on Instagram, and they asked, according to me, what are my tips for success? Well, first of all, I have a hard time with the word success because how do we actually define that? I don't think it's just achieving things, making a certain amount of money, but it's such a layered word. But anyway, these are some of the things I would actually say make for success, or like my specific habits for success. The first one is having a learning or curious spirit. I think if you're trying to go anywhere, you have to always be keen to learn more and understand how can I be better, how can I do better, and what can I learn in order to actually accelerate myself as a founder, but even yourself as a business. And this doesn't have to take the traditional structure of going to school or taking a course. It can be as simple as having coffee with someone that you admire, someone in a similar business, or listening to podcasts, like you listen to this podcast right now. It can be watching YouTube videos. It doesn't have to be that complex, reading a book. And one actually of my favorite ways to do this is watching Shark Tank. I think it exposes me to a lot of different ideas, ways of thinking that maybe I wouldn't have thought of before. You'll see somebody present a business idea that you're like, wait, that's actually really interesting. Or you get a marketing strategy from there, or you just learn something. The second thing is consistency. Now, I'm not going to drum this in too much because we've all had this buzzword consistency. But if I was to tell you to take 365,000 steps, that would sound like a lot because that's like 10,000 times 365 days. But if you just do 10,000 steps a day for an entire year, that's 365,000 steps already done. So sometimes we look at the big goal that we have ahead of us and we get really, it feels daunting. So you say, I'd rather not start. If any of you ever climbed Mount Longonot, when you get to the top, you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And then you look at that crater that you have to go around. And if you look at the whole thing, you're like, wow, okay, let me just shuka now because it looks like a lot. But if you literally just take a step at a time, a step at a time. I did that hike maybe, I think 2 years ago. And the thing I kept telling myself to keep myself going was one step at a time, one step at a time. And eventually you're actually going to get there. So it doesn't matter how tiny it is. It's better than being really intense for a short period of time and then you drop off. And then being intense and then you drop off. So you'd rather want to maintain that consistency. And actually, there's some research that has been done around when you're trying to pick up a new habit, sometimes you fall off, and that happens, and that is so given. So actually, they say around day 19 is when many people tend to drop off. Now, the mistake that tends to happen is you drop off and then you stay off instead of trying to come back on. So what I'd like to do is encourage you, when you drop off, come back on. So just because you fell off for 3 or 4 days doesn't erase the 19 days that you have done. Just keep going.
A quick pause. Let's hear a word from our partners over at DigiTax. Running a business in Kenya is already like juggling so many balls and you almost feel like a clown in a circus. Good news is that DigiTax is here to make this process a lot easier for all of us. They have a platform where you can easily create your invoices, send them to your customers or your suppliers, as well as be able to also verify any invoices that you receive. And it also allows you to view all of your historical data and they don't experience any downtime. DigiTax is here to make this process of e-invoicing a lot easier and most importantly, carry compliant. Make sure to check the caption for details on how to sign up and you can easily access on your phone, your computer, your desktop or wherever you go. They're your tax assistant in your pocket.
the process of actually hatching the plan feels really good. And that's why starting things feels like so much fun, because it actually comes with some dopamine with it. But being consistent is where the work actually is. And don't rely on your motivation to keep you going. Try and incentivize yourself as much as possible to keep going with the task that you have. Something that I actually like to do in the mornings, especially when I'm working on a project, is I write down what the big goal is. So let's say maybe open Beach Square Kampala. That is maybe the big goal. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but I write what's one small thing I can actually do today to help me get there. And so if that one thing is research how to trademark my company, that's a task that'll take 10 minutes. And then tomorrow, maybe it'll be ask my customers where they'd like us to open. And then the next day, a small thing, that over a long period of time will actually get you there pretty quickly. Now, the third thing is to use systems to your advantage to help you get things done. Sometimes relying on your willpower, on your memory, or on your strength or your will, it just doesn't work. And layering systems to help you get there is the smartest way to do it. I'll give one example. This year, I really wanted to pick up journaling and I really struggled with it. Just the idea of sitting and confronting your feelings. So what I did is I habit stacked. I sandwiched it between two things I definitely do every day or most days. And that's waking up and going to the gym. So every day I'll definitely wake up and I'll go to the gym 3 to 4 times a day because that's a habit I've established now. So as long as I do those two things, then journaling definitely comes in the middle. Another example is taking my supplements. I'm trying to be consistent with taking my morning and my night supplements. So what I do is I place them on my bedside next to my water bottle. So when I go to bed, I'll definitely come with my water. And before I go to bed, I'll see the supplements there and I'll take them. And same thing in the morning. So the same thing when it comes to whatever you're trying to achieve is to build systems to make it easier for you. I'll give another example. Let's say after this podcast, we decide that I want to launch season 2 in March. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open my calendar and block out a week for filming now. And at least that is one task or one step that I have already created that system. But if it's in the calendar, it's definitely going to happen. Now, the last tip is take good care of your mind. I think especially as founders, we treat our bodies like tingas. You know how those machines are all beaten up and have all kinds of dents and whatnot. And we really forget to take care of ourselves and our minds. Like you're actually the most valuable asset in your business, and the quality of how you can think affects your bottom line so much. So it's important that you actually take time and resources to take care of your mind. And how do you do that? I would say number one is get enough sleep. A lot of us ignore that and we glorify the sleeping at 2 a.m. to secure the bag and waking up at 4 a.m. But make sure you're getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And actually, you get more quality sleep when you get in more hours before midnight because it's more aligned with your circadian rhythm. Remember, our bodies are kind of designed that when it gets dark, that's when we sleep. So ideally, 6, 7 p.m. is when our body is starting to wind down. So pushing through that and working until like 3 a.m. and then you sleep for 7 hours until like 10 a.m. is not quite the same as sleeping at like 8 p.m. and then you wake up at like 4 a.m. The next thing is making sure that you're moving your body. It's really good for your mind. Do some exercise, go for a walk, use some really good dopamine, eat well, and learn to de-stress and not harbor stress in your body. As we get older, you start to realize the impact of all of these things that we're doing and putting on our minds and our bodies. So make sure that you're not taking it home and you're finding ways to actually decompress, because at the end of the day, your health is really, really important, because if you go down, the business goes down. And yeah, just to recap, those were my 4 habits. Have a learning or a curious spirit. So consistency, number 2. Number 3, use systems to your advantage. And number 4, take good care of your mind. This has been a Minisode with Founder Diaries. Make sure to give me your takes in the comments and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening or watching to this on. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Beauty Square KE. Beauty Square was my first full-blown business and the brand that pulled me into entrepreneurship and shaped so much of what I share here. In many ways, this podcast is an ode to that journey, the lessons, the growth, and the courage to start before everything was figured out. At Beauty Square, we're passionate about helping everyone become a skin expert, offering authentic products from TikTok favorites to proven solutions for acne, dark spots, and more, with a team ready to guide you through all the right choices. Visit us at our CBD or Lavington branches for expert treatments like facials, waxing, body scrubs, and massages from our sister brand Sage. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at beautysquare.ke and at Sage Skin, spelled SAGESKNN. And thank you for tuning in.